Penguins are diving marine mammals, found on every continent in the southern hemisphere. All 18 species of penguins live there. In general, flightless birds like penguins have greater limits on foraging ranges and search capacities, compared to birds that can fly. The more northerly spheniscus penguin species, for example, are limited in distribution to primarily active areas of the ocean such as upwellings and continental shelves. About 95% of Galapagos penguins, the most northerly of all penguin species, is found along the western coast of Isabela and around Fernandina Island.
Current threats to penguins include overfishing until the lack of prey for penguins, a lack of knowledge about these birds and what environmental factors have the greatest consequences to their survival, to several large-scale oil spills over the past 50 years that has killed or impacted thousands of penguins around the world. Take heed that unlicensed or unauthorized tours and tourists who do not respect visitation guidelines can stress and disturb penguins, even causing them to abandon their chicks and nests or leave ideal habitats for locations where survival is more uncertain. While penguin hunting or egg harvesting is illegal, it still occurs in areas where penguins live close to humans. But the biggest threat to penguins today is global warming. Global warming impacts penguins in multiple ways, from interrupting the production of krill due to the melting ice caps in the Antarctic, to increasing the frequency and severity of storms that destroy nests, to shifting the cold water currents carrying the penguin's prey too far away from penguin breeding and foraging grounds. According to scientists, the number of chin-strap penguins in Antarctica has fallen by 77% in the course of 50 years. With warming temperature becoming so rampant, it might precipitate rainfalls that will increase humidity, such that it will pose a threat to the penguins' eggs, as eggs cannot survive when they're immersed in puddles.
Next, we'll be talking about conservation centres and nature parks. The most notable penguin conservation is the Penguin Conservation Centre, PCC, in South Africa, was founded in November 1968 to care for ill, injured and oiled seabirds. In its half-a-century history, PCC has handled an overwhelming influx of birds into the centre and responded to every major oil spill along the South African coast. The PCC is best known for its success in rehabilitating oiled African penguins. The Penguin Conservation Centre is now a world leader in this field, achieving survival rates that are exceptional by international standards. Recent research by scientists at the University of Cape Town's Avian Demography Unit (ADU) indicates that the African penguin population is 19% higher today than what it would have been in the absence of PCC's efforts. Just a 90-minute drive down south from Melbourne, to an island renowned for its success in ecotourism, the Phillip Island has contributed immensely to penguin conservation. In light of ensuring the survival of young penguins, the caretakers of the island work tirelessly to eradicate the fox population and other possible predators like feral cats in the island. Notwithstanding the possibilities of a fire outbreak, the Phillip Island Nature Park has also employed every practical measures for fire management and animal welfare. It is unquestionable that conservation centres are going the extra mile to achieve their goal in preserving the penguins. We think that this is a really good start for humankind to observe changes and improve the ecosystem.
Having house guests can be extreme, but new research shows that penguins can quickly adapt to the stress of ecotourism. Brian Walker of the University of Washington says that ecotourism is the fastest growing industry in the world today and is worth about $300 billion annually. Each year, more than 45,000 people travel to Punta Tombo, Argentina, where a large colony of Magellanic penguins reside in. Wildlife watching is a common activity there, where many tourists are offered an insight into the life of a penguin. In addition, Penguin Place in New Zealand is the world's first tourist-funded conservation program that started in 1985. The program aims to breed more yellow-eyed penguins and restore shade and privacy which the penguins require. The program is fully funded by tourists that visit the reserve every year. Lastly, Japan's northernmost zoo in Asahiyama, Hokkaido, houses more than 700 animals from 124 species. The zoo was the first facility in Japan to succeed in the natural breeding of cold region animals such as penguins. Visitors can walk through underwater tunnels as penguins swim overhead and watch them walk and play outdoors during feeding time. Legal protections for penguins have been implemented and practiced since the last century. To protect and conserve penguins, all 18 species of penguins are legally protected from hunting and egg collecting. The Antarctic Treaty that was signed in 1959 aims to protect Antarctica and preserve its living resources, stating that it is illegal to harm or in any way interfere with a penguin or its eggs. The Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, also known as CITES, is an international treaty developed in 1973 to regulate trade in wildlife species. Animals are categorized into two categories according to their rarity and current status. One of them is Appendix 1, which lists species that are endangered or in danger of extinction, such as the Humboldt penguin, and the other is Appendix 2, which lists species that are threatened or likely to become endangered, such as the African penguin. In addition, wildlife refuges also play an important part in protecting and conserving penguins. In 1919, the Tasmanian government ceased all exploitations of penguins on Macquarie Island. A few decades later, Macquarie Island was designated as a World Heritage Site by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO.
To further enhance the effectiveness of law enforcement, conservation management goes without saying. Conservation management seeks to regulate human activities to minimize direct and indirect negative impacts on valued sites and/or valued species, such as penguins, with the goal of sustaining existence of specific species in general. During the 5th International Penguin Conference 2004, the penguin science community congregated as close to the Antarctic continent as possible, in the depth of Tierra del Fuego, Patagonia. In that conference, scientists had tabled the detriments of identifying individual African penguins using flipper bands and suggested the practice of identification by noticing the permanent marks on their chests. Apart from that, the Species Survival Plan, SSP, is a comprehensive strategy to ensure their survival through breeding programs in selected participating institutions. In general, animal breeding programs are set up with the aim to exploit genetic variation in a sustainable way. There are genetic improvement programs within and between breeds. These programs enhance the competitiveness and sustainability of the animal food production globally. So with these programs and initiatives being so prevalent, what is the rationale behind it? I would say it's a matter of conscience and cognizance. It doesn't matter who are the ones at fault in the first place, because more importantly, the least we can do as citizens of the world is to support conservation organizations that pledge to protect wildlife, and in this case the penguins. Monetary support remains a popular option for many of us, apart from volunteering or being an active research member. Let us look at more conservation and education programs that will make you restore your faith in humanity. Take, for instance, the Tourism Blue Flag program. It provides plenty of opportunities for the youth to engage in the coastal tourism sector as it undergoes a significant growth in visitors every year. Accredited training provided by the Wildlife and Environmental Society of South Africa, WISA, to participating youths will at the same time improve the experience of domestic and international tourists. Moving on to New Zealand, the Penguin and Seabird Education Resource aims to inculcate the children aged 5 to 9 with environmental awareness in formal education. Children are likely to develop a lifelong value for nature given their young age, and this further accentuates the vital importance of early education, to not just build an academic foundation for them, but to also impart basic moral values and ethics. This program, though focuses on blue penguins, also emphasizes on other endangered marine birds, such as the Tawaki penguin and sooty shearwaters. Furthermore, SENCO, acronym for the Southern African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds, is an international organization responsible for seabird rehabilitation which primarily focuses on the penguins native to their region. In molting seasons, the lack of food supply and unprecedented extreme weather conditions will hamper the growth of chicks, as their parents become land-bound and have to rely on food storage. This phenomenon instigates the organization to hand-rear penguins who fall victim into this issue, until they turn old enough to be released. Like what the Africa Geographic says, the current conservation status of the African penguin is such that we can't afford to lose these late-season chicks to natural mortality events. And this brings us to our core value in conservation: self-education. We may have missed out or have been misinformed about conservation, but it is never too late to have a change of mindset, to be a part of this cause, to support creatures that make up this homogeneous ecological community. After all, to preserve and reinstate this world, change begins within us, the human species. And only by educating ourselves on these alarming environmental issues that will soon wreak vengeance on us, will we see light at the end of the tunnel. Save the penguins, save the oceans, save the world, save humankind. We must have faith in ourselves.
Well, that's it for today. Thank you for watching.